Three, two, one. Hey, yo, it's your boy Sam Duke,
Hey, yo, man, it's your boy Mikell.
and you're listening to another episode of You
You
Good,
good,
bruh?
bruh?
Yes. Back again, another day. We still quarantining, as you can tell.
Right.
I'm getting my hair cut today, Mikell.
Oh, wow.
I got my cousin's my barber, so he's coming to cut my hair. He's doing a
Mask
house
up.
call. It's been months, man. It's been months. It's time.
Mask up.
It's
You can do
definitely
it.
time. But yeah, today we gonna just hop right into it. We gonna be talking insecurity today. And I think that it's something that I've heard people want to talk about, and I've seen things about it, and I watch Insecure, which is a really good show, by the way.
Great
And
job, Issa.
Issa,
Great
man,
job.
oh man. And literally what triggered me wanting to even have this conversation, and Mikell doesn't know this, but I've already started putting together a little Insecure series, not based on the show, but just based on insecurity in
On
general.
reality.
Yeah, on reality. Because now it's like people gonna correlate the show with what's real, and there is some real in that show, but it's just
Yeah.
I think that it's important as men to start to understand uh, our emotions better and our state of minds better, and I guess we could start by defining insecurity. Uh,
I mean,
I can pull the Webster, but if
you
you
can pull a
got
Webster, but I
uh,
mean, we could talk through it too. I think
okay.
we were talking off mic about it, and a lot of people. It's been my experience that people mistake jealousy as insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
And jealousy is a natural emotional reaction to a threat to a relationship. And it doesn't even really have to be a intimate relationship. It could be a friendship relationship. It could be, when brother and sister are close and one of them finds somebody that they fall in love with, they don't hang with the brother and sister as much as they used to, and then
Yeah, that could be
they
the.
feel some type of way. So jealousy is an acute reaction, if you will, to a threat to a relationship. Insecurity, from my perspective, is something that is a little bit deeper and more constant, um, that exists inside someone, especially if they haven't been in counseling to deal with it. But
Mm-hmm.
insecurity is basically um, born out of an emotional trauma where that person has been left with a deficit about who they are,
Mm-hmm.
and that stuff carries over into the relationship.
Yeah.
So, are you good enough type of things, and then you kind of overcompensate to try to fill up that void instead of actually dealing with what caused that void in the first place.
And so yeah, I agree with you 100% with the insecurity. I think it's housing your self confidence. As my boy Cat Williams say, your motherfucking self esteem of your motherfucking self. So I think that is a big driving factor in a lot of the decisions that men make. Probably more so than we know,
Right.
especially because I consider myself very emotionally aware. However, it wasn't until I was a 30-year-old man I realized the things I was actually insecure about, and
Right.
it's interesting because I think you said that the problem a lot of times is we don't deal with the insecurity, and
Right.
so you ask yourself like why is that? And I think it's not even a man woman thing. I think it's just a people
It's a
thing.
human thing. It's
It's
a
a
human
human
thing.
thing. Yeah, it's a human
Right.
thing. And so even with me, I tell people like it wasn't until I had my children that my biggest insecurities came out.
Amen.
Like, because once I had my kids, then it became me second guessing what type of father I would be.
Yeah.
Me trying to figure out, it's like, okay, well, if I love my kids this much, how could my father not love me this much?
That's right.
Like, what was wrong with me that he didn't want to be around? Those type of things. You start
Right.
to, and those type of things start to kind of eat away at me. And I started to see friction between me and my wife because, I wanted to be more involved and try to, prove to myself that I should be whatever. All kinds of just things stem from the idea that you're not enough, or
Right.
you're lacking something, you're missing something. And so I think that a lot of times those things, those insecurities, those things that we have, kind of spill over into our day to day. Because I tell people, I think men we don't let it out verbally, but we let it out in actions. We do a lot of, like, in my opinion, dumb shit.
Mm.
And so because of we insecure, we do a lot of dumb shit because we're insecure. And
Like
maybe
what are you thinking? Like what?
um let me see, like when we talk about you said you were talking about jealousy earlier. I
Yeah.
believe that jealousy is a part of is definitely a part of a threat to the relationship. But
Hmm.
sometimes your insecurity can be the threat that creates the jealousy.
Well,
Like,
yeah. I mean,
you
anytime
know,
you, well, that goes. So insecurity, to put it in layman's terms, is fear. False evidence appearing real. It's fear. It's the
mm-hmm,
fear of, and the problem with fear is that it's a perceived threat.
yeah,
It's perceived threat. Um, Even though it's anxiety, it's a perceived threat. And what ends up happening is you start responding to that threat.
yeah,
You have a heightened stress level. Your thinking is kind of, uh, it's not that high cognitive thinking that you would want to have as an
mm-hmm,
adult, uh, and more what you expect from at a child level, because they haven't fully developed cognitively.
yeah,
So it gets very, very primal. Um, and that's the problem with being stuck in an insecurity, is because it's all reactionary. It, like how you react. So you use example of like fatherhood, for
yeah,
example. If you have insecurity about fatherhood, it will be because you felt like you have gaps on how to be a father. And then instead of addressing it, you will start addressing either the child's mother, where they may be lacking, or you may start talking about where you start overcompensating.
yeah.
And then that overcompensation, you start to lose confidence in your mate because you're like, I
Yeah,
see this threat. How come you don't see this threat?
yeah,
That type
yeah,
of deal. And, it's just all encompassing in terms of that role. But
yeah,
then also, because of that constant state, it will also trigger you to either become like, put it in this perspective, it's not comfortable to be insecure. So
yeah,
what ends up happening, you could either be overly present or overly absent to avoid that feeling.
yeah,
All the motivation is, I want to stop feeling like this.
yeah,
So either I'm gonna overdo being dad, or I'm gonna underdo, because every time I come in their presence, I feel incapable.
yeah. And
And so,
what I was gonna say,
workaholics are born out of that.
oh,
You get
oh
a
yeah,
workaholic dad.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
definitely.
Or
And
the dad that
that
stays out with the friends all the time.
well,
you know?
I definitely fell into the workaholic dad. Like, I tried to be like, all right, well, I was going hard, and I wasn't really giving I was, anytime my wife would try to not necessarily interject, but she would, okay, well, maybe we should do it this way. I felt like she was coming at my father. It's like she coming at my abilities as far as father of my children. And so that was born out of me saying, okay, well, I don't know what it looks like, so every time she comes at it, I got to defend it. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? Because
right,
it's like,
right.
but let's talk a little bit more about the insecurity in relationships, insecurity in relationships.
Okay.
And so,
I love relationships.
yeah, love relationships.
Okay,
There we go.
okay.
Because there's all kinds of insecurities, but I think that a lot of times insecurity in love relationships, and I think that it's been shown on Insecure that it could go both ways, and it can collectively be the reason why the relationships don't make it. and
Okay.
it, and it's not necessarily because there's a lack of love. It's not necessarily because there's a lack of of compatibility, but it may just be a lack of understanding what, because the thing about it, when you're insecure in the moment, you can't see it. You
Well,
can't
yeah,
see,
because your emotions are kicked in. You're at a
yeah,
heightened state. That's what I was
And,
talking about. That high, you know,
yeah.
fight or flight.
And so like I'm taking it to Lawrence and Issa because if
Okay.
you guys don't know, since y'all don't, if you watch the show, you don't watch the show. The premise of their relationship is Issa was working a job that she doesn't necessarily like. And her and Lawrence have been dating for a while. Lawrence is he works in the IT field and he has this app that he's trying to get off the ground, but he's also unemployed looking for a job and
Oh,
it's
you mean
big.
season one? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
season one. So I'm
Okay.
going back to the beginning, the beginning, and a lot of stuff happens in between. Issa cheats on Lawrence because they ain't feeling the connection. Lawrence ends up, having sex with someone else as well. Eventually, they break up. Now, fast forward to where we're at now, and I think me and you have already talked about it. They had a compelling, grown,
Grown ass
very
conversation.
grown ass
Yeah.
conversation, 4 seasons, I think, in it's 4 seasons in, right? So they've had this, they finally got back to the point where they're able to sit down and what do you call it? No eggshells. They didn't
Yeah, they didn't walk on
they didn't
eggshells.
walk on yeah, they didn't walk on eggshells. And I think that it was when I listened to this conversation, it's probably the most like real conversation post growth that I've seen. A healthy black couple and young have on television. I don't think I've seen that, to be honest with you. As
I've
healthy as
never,
it was.
I think that was the comment I said. I had never seen on TV
Yeah.
a real conversation like that. Like it's always been some happy kind of ending,
Yeah.
spin to it and sweetness. And there was no sweetness in this conversation. It was
No.
just real. It was raw,
It was
and
raw,
but it
yeah.
was honest. It wasn't raw like in I'm about to hurt your feelings, but like
Yeah.
raw as in being completely vulnerable and just tearing open your chest and putting your heart out there. And that
Exactly.
type of rawness that you don't see, that is actually what I would think would be the healthiest conversation you can have in a love relationship.
Yeah.
And don't, not to be so quick to be offended, and to me, that's what the insecurity part comes into play more than anything,
Yeah.
is that when you're having that conversation and that person saying, I didn't want to come home to you. I was literally driving around just to avoid
Just
seeing you.
avoid seeing your
That
ass,
is
yeah.
that is that is a moment where an insecurity, unchecked, can pop in and an argument will ensue.
Yeah, I mean, and on the flip, Lauren saying,
Yeah,
"Hey, look, you waking up going to work every day
yeah.
reminded me, you
Of
know, uh,
how jacked up how much I had failed.
exactly." And so,
Right,
literally, though, it's like those insecurities are pulling back at the relationship, and they didn't have any way of actually communicating it at the time. And
right,
so, what what would be because I'm certain that a lot of relationships in that manner. It's like literally there's issues, there's ways that you feel, because Issa wasn't necessarily secure at her job. She probably felt like a failure there too, being that she didn't like it there. She was a token black girl for a white company that's doing work in the community. Nobody cares about
right,
her ideas.
right,
Same thing with Lawrence unemployed, or underemployed, working at Best Buy, trying to
right,
make it. It's like literally you're seeing two people not where they want to be in life. And for me, a lot of my friends, not necessarily they're not where they want to be in life when it comes from a financial standpoint, but from a relationship standpoint, they a lot of them will say, I'm not right where I want to be. And
right,
so when they get in these relationships, it seems as if insecurities can pull at the reason why they can't continue the relationship. And so what do you do when you're in it, when you're inside of it? And then, because they had this conversation with 4 seasons in.
right.
What do you do season one to prevent having to have that conversation season four, right?
It's funny. I'm not of the mindset that everybody can be ready, set, go. Um, it literally is. We reflect on season four, but in that time period, they've had to interact and have relationships with other people to see what they didn't see in season one. You follow what I'm saying? Like it just
I get you.
sometimes this life has to happen for things to just kind of become I guess clear to you.
Yeah.
You know, and it honestly, if I look at it really, it's about your circle. So I'm not saying that either one of them had whack circles. I'm saying that the conversations that need to be had were not were not available to them because their circle had their own insecurities and their own issues.
Yeah.
And if you're not seeking um if you're not seeking professional help, someone that's objective, someone that is trained, someone that is taught how to like step through the thought process, you're not going to have that conversation. And then the experience can only come through life and quote unquote failures in life because failures are just lessons. They're not
Well,
really failures.
yeah, I agree. But I was wondering, is there a way, because it's like literally I'm thinking about this from the standpoint of, what I know a lot of men wish they like. It's about having the tools. You know what I'm saying? It's like literally I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of times growing, and I know life is life. You have to go through certain pieces and parts of life in order to get, to get more mature. Maturity is all a part of it, right? But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is inside of the relationship, because I've been with my wife a long time, and so
Hmm.
even inside our relationship, we had those. Of course, we had our breakups, we had our get back togethers,
Yeah.
and we had our maturity, and some points of the relationship, I wish I had the level of communication I needed in order to, to prevent some of the hurt. Because the thing about it
Yeah.
is, when you're insecure about certain things, or when you just have certain issues that you can't communicate, it's like you feel like, well, what if I would have broke up with her and she never came back, or we never. It's like literally, there's a lot of people knows one that got aways, and
Oh yeah.
and of course everybody has them. I'm not saying that being able to communicate will save you or not save you, because we don't know that. That's the
Right.
ultimate what if game.
I put it
However,
to oh, let me say this.
yeah,
You are somebody's got away. You understand what I'm saying?
I'm sure of it.
And she is somebody's like there that narrative will forever exist.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
think I think the salient point is if you're not in a circle of conversation separate from the relationship
Yeah,
that is helping you understand and grow an awareness of your emotions, how to articulate them, to get at the root of why you have this insecurity. Like if you don't have those conversations separate from the relationship, you're going to be triggered in the relationship. Like
yeah,
I gave the
yeah,
example of not coming home, and that would have been a trigger moment for somebody.
yeah.
Because I know I've had that conversation before where someone said that to me in
That they
my in
didn't want to
my
come home.
yeah, they didn't want to come home,
Mm-hmm.
and my reaction was, well, fuck you then. Don't come back in this motherfucker. Why are you here? Right? And that is the emotional reaction that was
Yeah,
triggered by an insecurity I had of not being enough.
yeah,
Because she basically confirmed that I was not enough, that I
yeah,
wasn't, in my mind.
yeah,
So I wasn't listening to her. I was just reacting and responding to her because I was in a high emotive state, insecure.
yeah.
And that's what I'm
You,
saying. Like,
you,
but
you,
you know,
You
I
you know it
learned.
instantly when you said that. You know what that reminded me of.
I have no.
Hey, Shawty, come here. Let me holler at you. I got a boyfriend. Well, fuck you too then.
Right, right, right.
You ain't
Oh,
that cute anyway,
you're
right?
right. Your
You
man
ain't that
better than
cute.
me, because. But
But
that's an insecurity. That's a
yeah,
glaring insecurity, and it becomes a part of how that person operates.
yeah. I mean, and
It,
that's what I was asking. It's like, so what is there like a is there a mechanism? Is there something we could teach younger kids? Like, cause I'm raising kids. Like, okay, look, what is it about uh a man? Especially, let's talk about men. A
okay.
man's insecurity that you know rejection is an issue. You know, because I think that's a big issue that men have is rejection. It's like because we are the hunters, right? So we're going out, you know, trying to get women or trying to get to know women, and of course with that comes the rejection. And so there, I understand a lot of people don't handle rejection the same way, but
Right.
what is it that triggers that instant emotional that fuck you, you ain't that good looking anyway, or you ain't that bad of a
I mean,
bitch anyway?
some of it's environment, some of it's genetics, but um, our relationship with our mothers in the first 2 years of our lives are the most important in being able to develop anything. So if we don't have a good connection with our mothers um, for the first couple of years, or whoever the caregiver is, let me
Hmm.
phrase it that way. But specifically in the context of women, like it can be uh, very difficult for us to step through the process of understanding what is acceptable behavior and what's not acceptable. And what
Yeah,
that means is that the child, children will test everything. And like they'll take a cup and just push it, push it, push it, push it to
yeah,
see it fall on the floor. But if you come over there and admonish them, don't push that cup on the floor. What do you know? That child just learned, oh, that's not appropriate.
yeah,
Right? That's not appropriate. So fast forward, you know, you have uh, you have the opportunity to meet somebody. If your mom or whoever is your parent has not taught you how to interact with someone that you are attracted to, you don't know the limits. And you will say, fuck you, bitch. Da 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 da. Ain't nobody staying because that's something that has never been checked. So that's just on the surface. The stuff that's deeper down
yeah.
is, I didn't have a good connection with the person that cared for me. So therefore it's hard for me to try to, push care out into the world. Like
No,
they don't it ain't
that
just
makes
it ain't
sense.
yeah, it's
No, that
not just that interaction when they're meeting somebody. Any relationship that they've had up until that point probably has been tumultuous. You
no,
understand what I'm saying? So
you're definitely right. Because even thinking about from my perspective, I think I didn't have issues with rejection at all, like from women anyway. Because my thing
right,
is, you know, I I played the numbers game anyway, so it's like if if it's 100 in here, if I could get 10%, that's 10. And so literally it was like if I go past 10, one of them are gonna be all right. And so but the reason I didn't go to the point of like spinning around and disrespecting or being like, you know, you ain't gotta act like that. To me it didn't matter how you act, like you're not getting that out of me. Now
right,
the reason being is because my relationship with my mom. I felt like growing up, me and my mom were, you know, I say best we were like really, really good friends.
right,
She kind of was I was the more sensitive kid, and so she would tell me things that are going on, not necessarily grown up stuff, but just like I'm not feeling good today. I'm a little sad today, you
right.
know,
She
that
talked
kind
to you
of
like
stuff.
an adult.
Yeah, she talked to me like an adult, and so in my interactions with women, I try my best, regardless of where it is. It don't get to the level of disrespect. Not quick anyway. You
Right.
know, it's not a quick thing. And so let me ask you, what what's your last insecure moment? What do you your last like? How did you deal with your insecurities?
Um, Therapy.
Therapy.
Yeah, it was. I went to therapy for grief, but it ended up being for becoming the man.
Mm,
Um, because the thing about grief is one of the stages in grief that they don't really talk about is regret, and it's not a real stage. You know what I mean? That's kind of like when you get so regret to me is tied to acceptance, like whatever the
okay.
end of it is, and then you reflect over, man, I wish I would have said this or did that. But like that part of that type of regret
Yeah.
is part of the is really the acceptance, but then you're reflecting on things you felt like you missed,
Yeah.
accepting that the
The
person is
gaps.
gone,
Yeah.
the
You felt
gaps.
like.
And so in that space, that's where I started to kind of pull at those insecurities.
Hmm.
Um, that were born out of my life's experiences. Um, just kind of just going through the whole, gambit of my life story, I found where I had the gaps and what insecurities I had, who was responsible in my life as a parental role model for that gap. Like me not feeling like I was good enough came from my father, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my mother always lifted me up, um, and made me feel good about everything that I was doing. If I said I wanted to do it, it was almost like she knew that I felt like that, and maybe she did. That I had this insecurity that was born out of my father's absence of me when I played ball,
Mm-hmm.
played in the band, when I was singing and doing plays,
I'm
and
sure
he
she knew.
wasn't showing up. Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I'm
saying
sure
like
she
that's
knew.
as a parent now,
Yeah,
I'm probably feeling
Yeah.
like she knew, and so my insecurities were born out of not being good enough, not being man enough. My father had said something to me like, whose son are you? You can't be my son. That kind of shit.
Uh,
But I had that anger in me, so
yeah.
I had an equal response. I ain't have a
Mm-hmm.
problem. I ain't never had a problem cussing somebody out without
Yeah.
cussing them out. But that's what I'm saying. Like you, the first man I know and love in my life, and you're not seeing me as you, as equal. Like I'm my mother. Like you basically saying you think my mama stepped out and had me because clearly you can't be my child. Thinking like that.
Yeah.
Like so it was born out of that, and I had to deal with that. I had to deal with it, get to a place where I had to understand and forgive him. But that
Mm-hmm.
was part of that. Wasn't something that was explicit. That was something that came out of my education, where I had to do an interview with him and my mother, and I told him what it was for, and I told him why it was important. And my father, for the first time, was vulnerable. I had never heard my father talk like this,
Mm.
and I don't think my mother had, because she reacted to a lot of the shit he said. She was like, "What? Here they are, 44 years,
Yeah, they had no
together,
clue.
no clue that he felt
Mm-hmm.
this way." And so that's what I'm saying. My insecurities were present in my life until my mom passed,
Gotcha.
and I had said then, I said, that was when I had to grow up, because she wasn't there to shield my or help me through my insecurity, whether it be financial help, whether it be emotional help or anything. Like I literally had it, and I didn't have nobody else. Even though my father was still alive, I couldn't call on him. So I had to grow up, and I had to face these insecurities. I had to get to a place where emotions did not drive my daily experience.
Yeah. I think a lot of men have issues with getting to that point. My bad. But they got a lot of issues with getting to that point because of, I think, when you lack, or where you feel like you lack, you bring in the need for, like, for me, I'm gonna give you my experience. From my experience, I brought in the need to be perfect. Like, I it few my insecurities from not having a father bred me to say, I'm going to excel, right?
Mm,
That's the way I'm going to handle not having this. It's like people are gonna look at me, and it's like people say, the black people, it's like, you're so well spoken. They're gonna look at me and say, you are such a good man for somebody that grew up without a dad. You
mm.
know, like, and
That's gonna be your narrative.
that's gonna be my narrative, right? So that's how I was creating it. And so I think that perfection, or the want for perfection, can come from your insecurity. and uh, and what I see a lot in men nowadays, I hear them when I be asking them, like, why you ain't got no girl, or why you not trying to do a long-term relationship, like, what's the issue? And I hear from women too, well,
Right.
he wanted to be together, but he want to get all his finances in order. He want to have all this stuff together. He wants to have his life already put together so that he can bring a woman into it. And they're looking for that perfect, that time, and trying to make things the way they
I
feel like
think,
it's.
but I think that's more us reacting to the women that we meet. Uh,
I don't know about that.
I'm
Go
gonna
ahead,
give you
go
an
ahead, go
example.
ahead.
I'm gonna give
Yeah,
you
go
an
ahead.
example of it. Like, my favorite Chris Rock joke was at one point was if women were okay with men living in cardboard boxes, that's exactly what the fuck we would be. Like we all
I,
this big house, the big car. I mean, that stuff is cool, but we don't
well,
really
well,
give a shit about that.
but,
We want a
but,
sandwich and some pussy. Like
but
we,
I,
it's
you
not
gonna
really
go.
that deep.
I'm gonna give you another Chris Rock joke. He says when a woman when a man meets a woman, he tells his boys he met the woman. They ask him, "What does she look like?" When a woman meets a man, she tell her girls that she met a man.
Yeah,
They ask, "What does he do?"
do exactly.
Yeah, and so I
That's
get
right.
that. I get that aspect of it, but I also feel like there are a lot more women that would be okay with building together. And
I have not met somebody that had the skill set to do it though. I mean,
okay,
even in my wife, she's very independent. She she comes with experiences that shapes who she is, and being married is not just here's my assets that I'm bringing to the table. What are your assets? Like merging them. It is learning how to work in tandem in a way that it benefits the family. And if you don't have that model growing up, you kind of you
no,
stuck out there,
it's difficult to have if you don't have it. And
right?
my wife has that. I've seen it, and I think that I always tell people I could have been married to several women, and I think that there's a lot of women that have that, and
That
I
have
they have the
the
ability or
okay.
have the skill set to actually build with someone versus
I know they exist.
yeah, oh no, they they
I know
definitely
they exist, but I'm
yeah.
saying when we look at when you look at the climate, look at our dating climate, look at
Mm,
the data, and when you talk about 50% marriage divorce rate, when you talk, and mind you that divorce rate goes up higher the more money that the couple has. So the more that the couple has, the higher the divorce rate,
yeah,
right? The lower the couple has economically, the lower the divorce rate. And that doesn't mean because divorce don't cost nothing but about $450, something like that. You can
yeah,
just if y'all agree that this is
yeah,
over, you
man.
go to the court, pay it, and go
300,
about your
400.
life.
Yeah,
Right. And so we're not talking about something that is cost prohibitive. So the economics has nothing to do with divorce not happening. There's something else going on there.
yeah,
The lower the economic, my perspective is the lower the economic group of married people understand that they have to work together to make it work. So
yeah.
the conversations are about that versus the higher economic. We feel like, oh, I ain't got to deal with your ass. Fuck you. Fuck that
No,
shit. Get my shit.
that's
And
true.
it
I
it
always
kind
say
of
marriage is for poor people.
right.
my my wife hates when I say it, but I don't care. I always say
but
marriage
but
is.
that but understand that if we had the poor person's attitude
Mhm.
with the money that we've accrued, what could that really represent in our community? Because
Yeah,
divorce splits assets, which makes them less valuable. You know what I mean? Your
yeah,
purchasing power has now been cut in half. And we're
on
talking
both
about
sides. Yeah,
and so we're talking about creating generational wealth, but you just cut the earning potential in half. And and that's what I'm saying. Like I look at the data, and then I also reflect on what people say in the dating community. I mean, I'm talking about these people. If 50% are divorced, that means they're single and they're upper age.
yeah,
So these are not skills that are being passed down at a larger number. And I just I'm concerned that we don't know how to work together. And so back to the original point, men that say they need to get X, Y, and Z in place before they bring a sister to the table, they're getting that message from women. It's on TV, it's in the student union, it's on the streets. I mean, I saw a
but
podcast the other
hey,
day. The young lady said she didn't want a man that had a 9 to 5. Like if he had a
oh
nine to
man,
five,
yeah,
yeah, I
man.
was like,
Hey,
And that's what I'm saying. Like
and
she's
you know,
not alone in
and you
that.
know what's crazy about that is it was her reasoning behind it, that because at
Right.
first it's like, I mean, everybody has a preference, right?
Right.
But then she came out and defended it, and her reasoning behind it is like, what are you leaving your kids? What kind of legacy are you leaving? Are you going to be able to? And I'm just like, literally, for a man that has a 9 to 5, there may be a man watching this a lot less secure than me, because I don't give a fuck
Mm.
what she got to say.
Right. Right.
That may be insecure financially based on
What she just
that,
said.
what she
That
just said.
message.
Yeah, and he's gonna take that message, and you know what I'm saying. He's gonna take that message and run with it,
Right.
because
Because
that's
he doesn't have anybody else to saying anything different. And I think that's my point. It's like her message, she didn't just come up with that. She's in a circle that supports that belief system.
yeah,
Other because she hasn't been ostracized enough to know how toxic the way she said it was. You know what I mean? Like it was not an uplifting message under
yeah,
any circumstances. If it wasn't it to me, her message could have been one that was uplifting where she was like, hey, men out there, I hustle and I don't have a problem if you're a good man, if you're open to learning how I hustle and you think that that's something you want to be down with, let's talk it over. She making it seem like she gonna be dead in 30
bruh,
days and he better go like no
bruh,
building
bruh.
type. She has no
She said
building.
she included drug dealer in her
Yeah,
list
absolutely,
of
absolutely.
potential
Potential. Yeah,
entrepreneurs that she would date versus a 9 to 5 man.
right.
That is, to me, is
Incredible.
like,
It's incredible.
but I guess you can see how financial insecurity can play a big role. I think some dudes have issues with their wives making more. I'm not one of those dudes. Now, I can see why, especially because there's the pressures that have been given to. I always tell people, I think men, the there's the protector, but it's the provider that gets men most of the times. Like, the idea of protecting family, protecting children, protecting the
Right.
people that you love is
That's
not
innate.
an idea that's foreign to men. I think
Right. That's
that
innate.
is
That's
innate.
innate.
Now, but the providing, the pressure that comes along with it is a pressure that I feel like only men understand. I don't think women, even when women are the provider, they may feel the pressure, but the way they look at it is not the same way we look at it. It's
Of
almost
course not.
looked at
Yeah.
as, if you can't provide, you're embarrassed about it, or you know what I'm saying. And I've seen people that can't. Their relationships have crumbled because a woman is thriving or making more money.
Well,
And
I
so,
mean, some of that is coming from her too.
no, of course. I think
Yeah.
it's both roles, because there's demasculation, there's embarrassment, there's
Right.
because there are ways, in the same way that men can do to women as well, when they're the sole providers, when they're not allowing them to, only giving them an allowance, and
Right.
doing certain things that it's like really adults should be able to handle in a better way. But I think that when it comes to financial insecurity, I think that actually plays another role in relationship, issues as well.
Absolutely. I mean, it could be a point of contention in couples just to talk about bills.
Oh yeah,
Because it just, well, I feel like this bill should be paid because of this reason. Well, I feel like this bill should be paid because of this reason. All right, that's an argument right there already started. And if you
mm-hmm.
have the insecurities tied to the finances, whether it is, the man not being the provider per se, or even if he is, and I have an independent minded woman, and she may be like, well, who the hell you talking to? I got this. You know what I mean? Like some
Yeah.
women say they want that, but I don't know if they want it the way that they say
Nah,
they do.
man.
Like
I
it's
look. I think I saw something on Twitter that said, man, so it was like, man, by all means, women, if you want the role of a provider, you can have it, because that shit is trash. Like,
right.
it's like, literally, it's like nobody wants to, have to, you know, well, for some, this is what I've seen. I mean, I've talked to some of my homeboys. They get married, and they're saying, I was taught, I paid the mortgage and I paid the car
Hmm.
notes, and the woman pays the utility. Well, I mean, after a couple of months of going to work and seeing, a couple $100 stay in your bank account and seeing a couple $1,000 leave, and then of course watching your woman have a couple $1,000 come in and only a couple $100 leave.
Right.
It begins to be a problem.
But it's a
Depending on
point of contention.
yeah, it started to become like, okay, well, shit, I done paid all these bills and I can't go get a beer and be comfortable that my shit ain't gonna be overdrawn,
Right.
or
Right.
and there's a whole conversation of splitting the bills.
Well, so what I will tell you is there's a school of thought where all money goes into one pot,
Mm-hmm.
and no matter like you can either have all checks going to that one spot, and then all bills are paid out of that pot, and you can have a separate account, and then you can pay yourself out that joint account into the separate accounts. Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody gets $500 or
Yeah,
whatever to spend on whatever you want. I mean, there are different ways you can compromise and come up with strategies to create an equilibrium or some type of fairness algorithm. Because yeah, it's not cool that she got Louis Vuittons and you can't buy no Jordans. Like and y'all live in the same house and
yeah,
y'all working. And that does play on people because they want to do things to make themselves feel good as well. Um, so there are a lot of factors that come into play, but the most important factor is for you to choose somebody that's not 100% selfish.
yeah.
So
I
the
mean,
selection the selection process. So let's go this far. Let's go with it this way. Insecurities will cause you to choose the wrong mate.
come on now.
So
Look, I agree with you in that. I agree
so
with you. Like if you think about the flip of it, like when I'm talking about a man that wants to be financially secure, he will
mhm,
end up, trying to take care completely of a woman and not leave any room for her to do something, whatever that may be. Is my wife
right,
ain't touching no bills, but bro,
right.
you may need her to touch a couple, bro. Like
I
it,
mean, listen,
it's all cute until it's not cute anymore.
right.
You
Oh
know what I'm
well,
saying?
I was going the direction of, say, for instance, this is a get money. He's a get money brother. I get
Mm-hmm.
money. I'm a hustler. This and that. He's gonna end up with a woman that was cool with dating a drug dealer too. So we're talking about somebody that has a high risk profile.
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
what I would call a high risk profile, which means not just that decision, but other decisions will be high risk
that's true.
as well. And how that can play out. Like we meet people and we're like, yo, find it in mother. Like, we'll get there, but we don't really go to, 5 years down the line.
Is she gonna be what?
Right.
Is this what I'm
We
trying to
don't
deal with?
like this is the type of mentality I want to deal with. And I'm saying
Yeah,
that she would make him feel good about something that he's insecure about because he's getting money. But
yeah,
the reality is if shit fell apart 5 years down the line, this woman probably will exit
yeah. Find another drug dealer.
and find another dealer or find another, that
Yeah.
mindset. If it's
Mm-hmm.
about just that, if that is the premise of your mate, then you now set in motion a future issue because, and especially in the black community, money comes and goes.
Yep.
Puffy, Jay, all of them got billions. There were points where they were not billionaires, and
That's
it was
true.
up and
Up and
down.
down. Yeah, up and down.
And
And it's
and
still, I
so
mean, in a way, if you
and but
understand business, they still
this
up and
up
down.
and down,
Yeah,
and that's the thing is like the mindset of I gotta have a dude that has X amount of dollars or X amount of mindset in terms of getting money. Yeah, that's cool, except for it exposes them to other risks. So a mindset of I'm gonna get money no matter what. All right, you date a drug dealer. There's only two ways out of that game. You know what I mean? You either gonna go to jail, you're out of the game, or you dead, you're out of the game. And I say two, but there's also a third, which is just walk the fuck away if you can.
yeah,
But what I'm saying is that that's your mindset. You're gonna link up with somebody that potentially could be taken away from you for a minimum of 5 years. You're gonna have children with this person. What does that do to the kid? That absence, the mindset. Like you're not thinking down the line
yeah,
if you are okay with that. And it's no shade to people that deal what they deal. That's their business. That's how they get money. But we all understand that that is a high risk profile. Get money position.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying is like if she's saying that out of her mouth day one, and she sees that you have money and you're getting money, it may not even be drug dealing. She's willing to take high risk at your cost,
Yeah.
and
That's,
that's not somebody I would want to, put have kids with. You know what I
but
mean?
then,
It's
then
just like,
again, there are men that will, take that, take
because the insecurity.
insecurities. Yeah, that's really interesting. I never really saw it that way, but now that you
Yeah,
kind of broke it down, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. So
yeah. She'll make
how
you feel like a king till you ain't.
yeah, exactly. So how do we combat our insecurities, man? How do
I
we
mean, there is no way to really mitigate insecurities. I think
mhm.
you either have them, and I think you always have them
Yeah, they're always there. They don't
there. Yeah, it's a persistent thing. I think you being aware of it, um, meaning know when it's insecurity and know when it's jealousy.
yeah,
There's a difference, and jealousy again is a very acute reaction to a stimulus, to a trigger. It should not Jealousy should not be a constant thing where you're like, oh, what the fuck? I don't know what the fuck you doing. What,
hmm
but that's not jealousy. That's insecurity. And so know the difference versus if you pull up and you see her at the grocery store holding hands with somebody. That's a
yeah,
jealous reaction. That's
that's
not
true.
insecure. That's I see the threat to my relationship and I'm responding to it.
Yeah,
And so learning what an insecurity is, and not letting people kind of pull you into, oh, you just insecure. No, I'm jealous right now, and being able to own jealousy. I think
hmm
jealousy gets a bad rap.
yeah,
I think people feel like that's a weakness, and
yeah.
it's just an emotional response to a threat that's tied to what you see.
Okay. So to wrap, I think we, like I said, there was a couple things that spawned me doing this. One
Okay,
was the show Insecure. Another one was a post from my boy Warren. Shout out to Warren,
what up, Juan?
who will probably be on the show pretty soon again. And he posted and asked women what was the most insecure thing a person has done. You got it up? Oh,
No, no, I was Joe had texted me. He listened.
oh yeah, man. Joe's been live texting us here,
Okay.
just in case you guys didn't know. He has some comments. He just says, "Why can't relationships each partner just do what they can? I guess the best cook does the best cooking, and the person with the most money does what they have to do. I guess that's what he's trying to say."
Yeah, I mean, I when I do, and that's a good point. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
it's actually what I kind of bring out when I do couples counseling. I work
Yeah.
with couples through a program called Prepare and Enrich,
Yeah.
and it's premarital. It's also for married couples, and it just kind of like that's what the enrichment means. The prepare part is for the premarital side.
Okay.
If you're doing it, and one of the things that I try to get the couples to see is to kind of remove their gender from the conversation
Yeah.
and identify their talents and skill sets and let that be where you put your energy. Because anytime you try to gender, you get into a team environment, you don't really break down who's the female and male. You
Nah, it's
you
just
you break down who has the talents for
who's the
certain
fastest,
things.
who can shoot,
Who's it? Right,
who can, what
right,
position can you play?
right. And so what happens is when you start putting gender on top of those conversations, that ends up becoming just an uncomfortable
Yeah.
situation.
And
Oh, why should a girl be a quarterback?
yeah,
That
she
kind of
got the best
got the
arm,
best
nigga.
arm, right? But
But
it's about the girl then, and that's
yeah,
why I say kind of if you take the gender uh perspective out of it, then you can have a real adult conversation.
yeah,
Yeah,
and and
and that's one of the things that kind
and
of stuck
and
out to me.
that's why, folks, premarital counseling is important, because my
Yeah,
pastor told me that our premarital counselor told us the same thing. He was just like, let people operate in their talents. I let Brandy pay the bills. I handle the wealth. So she does the short term because she can do the day to day. Remembers, they're paid on time. For me, a late fee never bothered me. Like, it's like,
yeah.
okay,
I don't
but
give
for
a fuck.
hers, it's like that's money going out the door. Cool.
And she's right.
So, she's very correct with that. And so literally she does the month to month pay the bills. I do the 10, 5, 15 year and we've been together 6 years now. She's already been able to see like, okay, you know what you're talking about with the how we're going about building our wealth and things that we're doing to
Right.
our kids and those type of things. And so just being able to see us operating our talents, and it's serving us very well. I don't have to worry about the bills, and she don't have to worry about whether or not we got an emergency fund or whatever. She don't have to worry about that because she knows
You
we're
push the money
letting,
over there.
yeah, we're letting each other operate in our talents.
Oh,
So
Joe, hold on. Joe asked one more thing. He said, "Are insecurities created based on the standard that society created? And if so, how do we find what we must focus our energy on?"
I I'm gonna say yes. I think society plays a big role. You said that you see it in movies, you see it on TV, you see
Yeah.
literally we're shaping the way we view the world through what we're bringing in through our eyes, our ears, and I think that materialism is especially in the American society.
Yeah, I'm about to say in America for sure.
It's yeah, especially in America, it's what you're taught. It's like you're taught you want this big house. Why is it that the person to make $500,000 is not, it still wants to make 1 million? The person that wants to make 1 million still want to make 10 million, and so on and so forth. And you ask all of them, they all have something more that they want to do. And the reason being is I think that's a part of social conditioning. And eventually you have to be okay with,
I would,
and if that's what you want, that's cool. But at at the end of the day, I feel like you have to figure out what it is you're actually looking for
yeah.
and
I was gonna
attack
say, I
it
think,
that way.
I think it's more that what drives that is the purpose. Like people, find it, trying to seek purpose, and unfortunately, we identify purpose, the success of purpose by materialistic things.
Yeah.
So if I make a half million a year, what does that look like? That means that I have a 6 bedroom house closer in town than maybe somebody else. Is it really that significant? And the thing is, once you get that and you sit there with it, you're not
Mhm.
happy. You thought you would be happy.
Yeah, you thought you would be like,
And so the only thing you know how to do is get more money. So I maybe if I make more money, I could be happier. But right now, I'm not happy. So now I'm insecure. Is my
yeah,
wife
it's
happy?
like it's building
It's
the insecurity.
it fuels the insecurity
Yeah, it
because
feels.
it's materialistic. And because if you look at culturally, that's not the case in other societies. I mean, this is something that's unique to America and to Western society, I should say,
Yeah,
not just America, but just the ability to accrue wealth has been such a predominant discussion point in
for
our world
everybody, for
for
everybody.
everybody in
Yeah,
our space. And we don't realize that the happiest, like I've been to what they call quote unquote third world countries, and those people are happier than most people I see
they
walking
enjoy it,
on
man.
Wall Street. Like I'm literally in awe of Cuba.
Less
Like
stress. The stress
they
levels are down.
they don't have jobs because you got, if you have a job, you work for the government.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
if you ain't good with the
Every
government, you ain't
you
working.
ain't you ain't working, yeah, but you okay. Your necessities are taken
Take
care
care
of.
of. They had that. They playing chess, dancing in the
Yeah.
street, doing little. Well, when they
It-
started having tourism, they were allowed to
enjoying
make their own
themselves.
money. They were enjoying themselves. I never
Yeah.
seen happier, poorer people because they're in these beautiful. Outside, the government takes care of the outside of the building. The
Hmm.
inside is falling apart. So you got buildings that are literally collapsing that have not been updated or worked on since Castro did what he did.
Yeah.
So we talking about from the '60s to now. So you got buildings collapsing in on one another, and people living in half houses, and
Hmm.
they just, hey, they're like, oh wait, what?
No, they're
I,
fine. They're fine
they're
because
perfectly fine.
they have figured out what it is they want in life,
Right,
and they've not been conditioned to think of it as I need more. Like it's hard for me, where I'm at in life, to be like
right.
I have to figure out, like, even I was talking about going for, like, a couple years ago, I was talking about going for a promotion, and I was fine where I was at, but I was like, I know it's gonna be more hours. I may have to manage people. I may have to do this and do that. And I was like, do I really want to do that though? You get what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
literally, I realized, like, nah, I don't really want to. I like my work speaking for me and not
Right.
other people's work speaking for me. I can manage, I can do that, I can lead, but it's like, but do I want to? And you ask yourself, what pieces of
What's
it
the
you,
opportunity? What's the
yeah,
opportunity cost
what's
of
the
doing that?
opportunity cost? Yeah, you're doing a what is it, the a cost benefit analysis type
Hmm.
thing. Um, but yeah, I mean, look, great conversation, man. I think I learned a lot about insecurities here. Just to end it on a high note, I'm gonna read some of Warren's posts
Okay,
and,
let's go.
let
I've been waiting on it.
let you hear some of the things that women have said that men have done because they're insecure. So first things first is the I don't even have to read the message. I saw it and I know what it is. Is one is went through the phone. The phone I think that's a universal sign of insecurity. I think everybody's had those issues. I mean, I personally have not gone through a phone because I don't really care.
Oh, I
And
have. Yeah, I definitely
yeah,
done that.
yeah, not me.
Well,
I
let
don't.
me say this
Yeah.
again. We got to. To me, the next question is: was that person responding to a stimulus, or was it that they just got
I'm,
up?
I'm, I'm sure when people go through phones, they feel you have to have a feeling to go through a phone.
No, so I'm
No.
telling you, no, no. They got people that just automatically, I need the password to your phone.
Oh yeah. I mean,
You know what I
shoot.
mean? Like
I,
before, if we're gonna be a couple, here my password, give me yours.
oh no.
And that's insecurity
Yeah.
versus this
That's
person
big.
that went through this young lady's phone. Did he have a reason to have concern? Like
Uh,
that's the,
well,
go
it's
ahead,
funny
go
because
ahead.
she says he pretended to be her on Facebook
Oh
and,
wow.
and sent some dudes messages, I guess, and just to test to see if she was cheating. And the dude said, basically he would hook up with her, but that doesn't necessarily prove anything. It just proves that men would take some pussy. So I,
Right.
I, I don't know, but that literally, I think he's torturing himself.
Yeah, I was about to say that's something else.
That's,
That ain't jealousy. That's definitely I don't
uh,
even know if that's insecurity. I would ask that he seek professional help.
let me see.
Just to
Uh,
evaluate how he's processing stuff.
this guy said he paid. This girl said so. This guy paid someone to hack her laptop when she was out the country, just to confront her about 3-year-old Facebook messages. And my assumption that they've been together longer than 3 years, and so it's been. I guess I guess it's been a while since her questionable behavior, so I guess he couldn't get over it. Let me see. Kept bringing
Wow.
up. Oh, friends and followers on social media is tired of asking why this guy liking your pictures and who is this liking or who is this commenting.
That's insecurity. That is insecurity.
Yeah, that's insecurity. Who was my let's see.
You got two crazes and one insecurity. Let's go.
uh
Phone, laptop, and mad about people liking
oh,
photos.
here's a big one. This is one I've heard women say all the time. Is he bigger than me? Did you enjoy I'm telling you, bro. They ask other women about another guy that they've been with. And was it better? Did you enjoy it? Was he bigger than me?
I mean, that's a message that we get from women.
You said it's a message we give for women?
Yeah, that's a message that we get from. That is not, I ain't never had a conversation with another man about dick size
That's true. That's true.
ever, ever. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so that message is coming from like what we see on TV,
Mm-hmm.
things we've heard. Like I got an older sister, you know what I mean? So I heard her girlfriend talking about, this dude got the girl, that whole thing. So in the back of your mind, you like, are women talking about me like that? Like, and I think that that's probably where that's fueling from. But I mean, I've also heard the opposite, where the dude, they were like, "Stay away from me, nigga. I don't need to see none of you. Like
Yeah,
that.
that's
I'm not
true.
trying to have a baby every time I have sex." And so it's like you'll have insecurities on that side. So it goes both ways, but the
Yeah.
messaging is coming from women. That's not something that that
Well,
we are
the
coming from.
the messaging is coming from women. However, the security is our responsibility.
Well, the
And so,
insecurity is ours.
yes, and so it's like it's still our responsibility to be secure with who we are, not want to talk about other men's sides,
Right,
not
right,
hack your phone.
right.
And I mean, and I'm not saying, because I know it happens. Women do it all the time. From the standpoint of like going through your phone. Black women, I say, are investigators. I think
I
they
think women are, period.
women are, period. I
Yeah,
think it's in their nature.
it's the
They're
nature.
they're really, really good at investigating. They will match your stories up very quickly,
They
and
process
they
information faster.
process. Yeah, they do. And so I think that, with that being said, man, we just have to make sure that we check our insecurities. We're gonna go a little deeper into it, moving forward.
All
But
right.
I think tackling the different parts of insecurity. What I heard us talk about today, we talked about the idea of trying to be perfect. We talked about lack of self confidence.
All right.
We talked about the anxiety that's
Right.
associated.
Yeah. The reaction to it.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
reaction to it, and I think we may even be able to go a little bit deeper and figure out how it's affecting. And we talked about relationships, how it affects our relationships, how it affects finances, and I guess my takeaway from this is our insecurities can show up, and from my perspective, can show up in ways you never thought. It's like literally can show up in your parenting, can show up in your relationships, can show up in
And your
in, in,
job.
in your job. The way people talk to you, way you hear people talk to you, those type of things. I think it's interesting to think about it and just like, okay, I may be a little insecure about that versus you know maybe that person.
Insecurities color the glasses that you see the world through.
Like
That's
that. I
so
like
it literally, yeah, it touches every aspect of your life, every aspect of it. It feeds it. And that's why I'm glad that we're doing the topic, because it's important for people to at least be aware. Like I said, if you want to defeat your insecurities, you got to be aware of them
that. Yeah, that's true.
first and foremost, and then
Be
we'll touch on the other stuff later.
Yeah, we'll talk about the other stuff on another episode. Well,
Yeah,
I think that's it, man. We're good here, man. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, you hit us up. You Good Brother Podcast on Facebook and IG.
yes,
YG Brother
sir.
Podcast on Twitter. And I think that is it. Thank you guys for listening to another good episode. I am Sam Dupe, and I am good.
I'm Tim Mikell, and I am good. He's
All
Joe
right.
Duke, and I guess he's good.
Joe Duke texting us. Yeah, he's good.
You good?
And just like that, we are gone. Thank you so
Peace.
much. All right.